Hey, what's going on? I'm Keith here at Sports Vibes TV, and this is the Knicks Sunday stream. I'm joined, as always, by my co-host Stephen Fox. Foxy, how's everything with you?
All is good. How are you?
I'm good. Did a bunch of shoveling, and I did a little bit of
Word.
moving, so I moved some furniture around. So a little weak in terms of physical abilities and things like that. But I'm here to chop it up and talk Knicks, pick my spirits up a little bit.
Yeah. So salute to you. Salute to the chat. Salute to the SV Nation. Let's talk New York Knicks basketball.
Yep, and we got a jam-packed show. We're going to be talking about the kids. Reports are that Quick and Obi have been, the Knicks view them highly, and they probably aren't going to be moved. Fingers crossed. We're also going to talk about Julius Randle, his struggles, and try to gauge what his trade value could be, because I think right now he's in a lot of statistical categories he's down, and some of them he's down. It's his worst season since he came into the league, if you don't include his injury rookie year. So we're going to talk about that. We're also going to talk about some trade targets as the deadline approaches, get into some point guard options and some other players that might be fits here with the New York Knicks. And then we're going to get into some general NBA talk about the Brooklyn Nets, seeing they've got some issues over there. So before we get into it, Foxy, anybody you want to shout out into the chat?
My good friend D Burr. Hope all is well. Still Dre, Derek Dayton Flyer, Edward Pierre. Hey Josh, hope all is well. Uncle Fulio, Sam Granderson, one of the great young minds in the Nick fandom. UBG, what about you, my friend?
Give a shout out to Citizen X, JW. We got a
Citizen
lot in
X.
chat. It's already at 57. We've only been on for about 2 minutes. So thank you
I got
guys for the
61,
support.
but I'm not counting.
Hey, I'm a little delayed over here. The tech over here is a little dated, but we're making it work. D. Burr, appreciate you. John Infante, can't wait for big changes. We need it. Aren't you people tired of this predictable coach team and asking for a coaching change ASAP? Hey, I don't know if this is the right time for a coaching change, but if reports are true and we're going with the youth movement, there may be a change in the works, in the off season, but we'll see. All right, let's see if there's
J
any other
Money.
chats we got to get into.
Justin.
Salute. See, always good to get the Sunday show. Facts. Thank you for being able to tune in live. So, Foxy, let's jump right into it and talk about some of the reports. I mentioned it as the open, Quick, Obi, they're being touted as players that the Knicks don't want to move on from. So, what have you been seeing from these kids that would give you the confidence that the Knicks are making the right move and saying that these guys are part of our core moving forward, and it's actually the vets that have to get shipped out of here?
Well, yesterday was the last game was an anomaly, but every game of the last X amount of weeks, you look the second team, they were all on the positive on plus minus, and it was a starting team, and the energy and just everything they're bringing, and so I can understand them feeling that way about Quickley and feeling that way about Obi, that we get into a hole from the starters, and those guys come in and either they eat away at the or get the lead. And yeah, so I can't say enough positive things. And also, again, just taking a step back and looking a year ago, their development Quickley on defense, Quickley, playmaking, and also, like I said, stats. The team is a better team with Quickley on the floor. And Obi, the same thing. You look back a year ago, he's grown leaps and bounds. And yep, there's areas we want him to grow in, but it's a nice trajectory for him getting better. I just wish he got more minutes.
That's a fact. Paul Butler says IQ isn't shooting the ball well, but Foxy, like you just mentioned, the team is still playing better with him out there on the court with either RJ or Julius Randle. So I think even though his shot has not been falling, it's been inconsistent throughout the season, I think you're seeing some abilities from him as a playmaker that are benefiting the team out there and helping us. I won't say win games because we're really not putting wins together, but at least helping us be more competitive out there on the court. This team is leaps and bounds more competitive. We're quick out there, even whether he's running the point or playing off ball. I think this team needs to find ways to get Quick more involved and get other players out there on the court with him as well. It seems like he's a microwave, whether coming off the bench. Hopefully he'll be inserted into the starting lineup just so we can see what he'll be able to do. But I think he'll be a upgrade over Kimba, even though there are still some talks that, some debates going around Knicks fans, whether or not Quick is a point guard, is he, isn't he? But we're getting results. So whether, regardless of what side of the fence you fall on, if he's helping us win, or if he's helping us be competitive and close some of these leads we've given up with the starters, then I think Quick should continue to be viewed as someone part of this core moving forward. And I'm happy that the Knicks have made that. I won't say they made the announcement, but I'm happy that word's out there. Word is spreading that the Knicks are very fond of both Quick and Obi.
Yeah. And to Quick's defense, this is only his second year. It takes a while to get adjusted. And when you're playing with D Rose like he did, and all of a sudden with a snap of the finger, D Rose is not there, and now he has to take on more responsibilities, you're asking a lot for a young guy. So even under that duress, at times he's just showing that he's a quality player. Great pick a year ago.
And also, I kind of made the mistake. I mentioned Obi and I mentioned Quick, but I should have threw Grimes in there as well, because the Knicks said they did not want to include Grimes in a potential deal for Cam. So I think the Knicks were smart in being able to acquire Cam without having to give up Grimes in the deal, and it's paying dividends already. You've seen in the game since that trade was made, Grimes has been a pest out there defensively. There's games where his shot has been falling, and I think he is definitely a piece that Thibs has already said he loves. And once Thibs is speaking about you in that manner, he's going to be entrenched in the rotation moving forward. So the fact that we were able to make a move and not have to give up Grimes in the deal, I think that's a major plus.
Easy to love Grimes. And like you said, we all know he's an elite 3-point shooter, and we know he's great on D. But every game you watch him, you're like saying, oh my God, did you see that pocket pass with Obi? Did you see he had 4 offensive rebounds the other game? Every game you're seeing a little, and also some stats that don't show up. He rips the ball, so it's not technically a steal because the ball went out of bounds, but he's so disruptive, and I just love his style. He hit a nice little runner into the paint the other day, a little fallback. So yeah, I can't wait for us to watch his development, but yeah, this is a sound young core for us as a nucleus. And they're smart, the Knicks, for saying that. And also, it's good business, because if somebody really wants them, that means the price tag's up there. They're going to have to pay if they want them. So it's a win-win for us. But like I said, I love their energy. You'll never hear a coach in the post-game conference saying, we lacked a little effort with these guys.
Yeah, and I have the stats up of the young players and how they've been performing since the season started. I've broken it down into October, November, December, and January, and you can really see with Grimes, as he's starting to get more and more minutes, he's starting to get acclimated to the NBA. You can see in January he's been averaging 21.1 minutes per game, and he's been averaging his highest points per game total. Same thing with his rebounds per game, and he's shooting 43.3% from 3 in the month of January. So he's finally gained Thibs' trust, and he's rewarded Thibs with solid play. So that's something that's as a Knicks fan, that's encouraging, especially seeing that Grimes isn't one of these high picks. He was picked 25th, and the Knicks are showing that in the draft they've been able to make good moves. Free agency, we can discuss a little bit later. But with the draft, I'm liking what they're doing. And you can see that with more and more minutes, these guys are getting a little bit more comfortable in their roles. And I just hope Thibs, I hope it's not just talk. I hope we actually see these guys get more and more minutes and are actually given the opportunity to contribute to winning basketball, which I don't think they're able to do when they're not relegated to the bench, but they're not being put out there on the court when they would make more sense than our starters.
Yeah, we have to be patient. You saw a couple of turnovers by Grimes, but those are good turnovers, as weird as it sounds, because if he does it over and over, that's bad. But you learn, wow, I can't do that cross-court pass like that. I can't leave my feet like that. It puts me in nowhere to land. So yeah, so all of them, they're really I like their IQs.
No pun intended. Speaking of IQ, his stats, as you can see, the shooting has been inconsistent. October, it was down to 22.7% from 3, and November shot up to 40%, and then it dropped down in December to 30, and then now in January we're seeing him shoot at 36.1% from 3. But one thing I like, though, is we're still seeing some high assist numbers, I would say, for Quick. Him not being the typical, floor general out there. You're still seeing him get 3 assists per game in November, and now 4 assists per game in January. So I'm liking the production. I'm liking the playmaking of skills that Quick is showing. He's not perfect. He still has to develop and get better. But I think right now, if you look at this roster, you can't give me another, quote unquote point guard on this team that I would pick over Quick if we're in the clutch and we really either need a point or we need to make a play. So
I'm with you all the way. And again, I think to his defense, between COVID and just Thibs rotations, it's very hard to get, from it, especially as an assist person, if there's different guys on your squad, it takes continuity for knowing guys' spots and knowing their idiosyncrasies, that they're going to do things. So he's producing despite not having the same guys on that floor with him every game.
Yeah, I think that's been a major issue for this team. It's probably an issue for teams all around the league, is how do you build
No
any kind
doubt.
of familiarity or any kind of continuity when you're dealing with the wacky things we've had to deal with this season. And, you have to look at the Knicks and say, all right, we have these vets that we brought in, Fournier, Kimber, and this hasn't been the easiest season to really build that type of chemistry with your teammates. So I do, take that into account when I'm analyzing this team. But with the young guys, with the way that they're playing at this point, we got to move on from the vets. And there's one guy we didn't even show on this slide, and that's Cam Reddish. He's another young guy that I think is going to be instrumental in where we go as a team in the future. And you look at the roster right now, we have Evan Fournier, we have Alec Burks. Those two guys have to be shipped out of town if we really want to embrace, playing the kids. And, I'm looking at those two, and if I was able to package one with Julius Randle in order to free up some space, then I would actually try to package up Evan Fournier. If you look at the contract and how many more years we're going to have to pay him. Also, you look at Alec Burks being a better defender. And if we were to move on from, let's say, Fournier and Randle, and in this trade that I'm concocting in my head, then at least with Burks, we can keep him with the second unit. He's still a better defender, like I said. And we can actually elevate, either Cam, if you want, or Grimes to that 2 or 3 position next to RJ. Because I think if you elevate Grimes, you're probably going to keep RJ at the 3. And if you elevate Cam, then you can move RJ down to the 2. And whoever doesn't get elevated to that starting lineup, then they can fill in next to, Quick and Burks in the second unit. How do you think about that, Foxy? If you had to move one of the vets, who would be the one you would decide to move on from in order to free up space for some of these kids?
We're brothers. We're always tight.
We're brothers. We're happy and we're singing Nick lovers. Da-da-da-da. I gotta stop singing.
It'd be Fournier. I'm with you all the way, my friend. His defense is, he lights it up, and then he goes a game where he doesn't, and then he lights it up. So, Burks. I would absolutely take Burks. Let's get rid of Fournier and that contract, so it gives us more leverage in the future. And also, you heard me say, hey, I'd love us to run the offense through RJ, but I'd love us to go with a Grimes at the point, RJ at the 2, Cam at the 3, Obi at the 4, and Mitch at the 5. But getting back to Cam for a second, SV Nation, I was so aggravated the last game against Milwaukee, and I shared this with Keith that Cam lit up Milwaukee in the Eastern Conference Finals last year. So for a team that had analytics, he shot 64% from 3. He just played lights out against them. So you'd think that he'd say, you know what? He did really well against Milwaukee in the finals last year. Let's give him some burn, especially in, nope, not a chance with Thibs. So even though they have all these analytics and all those other things, and we'll get into Randle in a little while, but gosh, I don't know how you can't give that kid a chance. You just traded a first-round pick for him, plus a former first-round pick. Craziness.
I just put a poll in the chat. I'm asking the chat, SV Nation, who should the Knicks look to move in order to free up minutes for Cam? Should it be Alec Burks, or should it be the Frenchman, Evan Fournier? You already heard our opinions. Let us know your opinions both in the chat and in the poll. Let's see if we got any other mentions here in the chat. See what everybody's Discussing. Brandall says both should be moved. I don't disagree with you. I just think it'll be hard to ship out to both of them in the same trade deadline or same trade season.
Hi, Brandel. Hope all is well with you and the family.
Salute.
Julia Blow, my brother.
Paul Butler says the whole team is inconsistent. I mean, yeah, you have to deal with some inconsistent players, especially from role players. It's just when you're seeing the inconsistency from players you're supposed to rely on game in and game out, then that's an issue. We brought in Julius Randle. Not brought in Julius Randle, but we gave Julius Randle that contract and said, hey, you're going to be our leader moving forward. And he's been extremely inconsistent. There's games where he's been non-existent out there on the court and making no impact. And then you look at Evan Fournier, we gave him a bag and looked at him as a secondary or even a tertiary playmaker out there, and he's extremely inconsistent. So that's why you can understand why the Knicks as a team, you really don't know who's going to be out there on the floor when you cut on your TV. So I know the whole team has been inconsistent, but there's certain players you don't hold it against them. I won't say you don't hold it against them, but you just understand that based on their talent level and based on their role on the team, there's going to be some inconsistency. But one thing this Knicks team has is depth. And for some reason, when certain players aren't playing to their normal abilities, Thibs refuses to pull them out and put someone else in. So I think that factors in as well when it comes to, the team and their inconsistent play. If somebody's not performing that night, you got to pull them, sit them down, and put somebody else in because this team is deep.
Yeah, Thibs has been consistently aggravating.
That's facts. Since he's got him here.
Yeah, and like we said from opening the season, what he did with Kemba, the favoritism toward Randle, the lack for Obi, now the lack of minutes for Cam, just refusing to sit Kemba now and get turn the keys over to RJ and let the offense run through him. And it's like, well, he only starts for a little and then RJ takes over. But we shouldn't have him taking over for the second, third, and fourth quarter. Let him take over for the whole game. And we showed those stats a few weeks ago.
Yeah, that's a Snapple fact, Foxy. Let's see what else we got going on in the chat. Well, actually, right now it's a tight race. Fournier has a slight lead. He's leading at 52%.
Around the corner, Fournier's winning, and they're hitting the home stretch. And
Yep. Oh, and now it's tied. So it seems like even the fan base, SV Nation, is kind of torn on who we should move on from. If you guys feel like we should keep Fournier, let me know in the chat exactly why you guys think Fournier should be the one that the Knicks decide to keep. And also, if you're watching on the replay, let me know your thoughts in the comments as well.
We answer all your comments, as you know. We love hearing from you, and again, thought provoking. It goes both ways. We learn a lot from you guys and gals.
So I see one. Anthony 212 says Burks will get better compensation, but see, that's why I probably, even though Julius Randle's trade value is kind of depressed, I would try to package Randle and Fournier and see if I can get a player that can come in, a young player, maybe bring in another expiring contract to help with our cap situation a little bit. And, that would try to be the route I move, even though I do think a 1-to-1 trade, Burks would probably net you more because of the defensive value he has and the fact that he's proven to be clutch and he's a great spark plug off the bench. But I think if we package Fournier and Randle, we'll get some pretty decent, I think, I won't say a project, but a young player that fits with this young core.
Yeah, I also like Burks' style, man. I like his nice, quiet, and cool style. Some of the post game or some of the things that Fournier has said could be taken if I was on that team. Like, shut your damn mouth, bro. Speak for yourself. So but also his contract. That's the biggest thing in my mind. We had all this leverage season, going in a year ago. Like, we have all this cap space, and then we used it on journeymen or guys like Fournier who don't play D, and you just, what are they doing, man?
Yeah, we have that youth that you free agency.
Yeah, but we have that youth that you just started off with that's exciting and gives us hope.
Yes, facts. So let me close the poll. Fournier is taking a lead right now. Right now, I think Fournier was listed at 55. So it seems like a lot of people agree with us. They would chip Fournier out of here. Yes, so 67 votes. Fournier at 55% and Alec Burks at 44. All right. So let's move on to the next topic. The next topic is going to be Julius Randle. And Foxy, what do we do with the guy, man? He's giving us thumbs downs and then going out and really not giving us anything to cheer about. If you look at some of his stats throughout the season, he's got a career low in field goal percentage if you don't include the injured rookie season. His three-point shooting has dropped from 41% last season to 31% this season. That's 10 percentage points. He said shooting his third worst 2-point percentage shooting, behind both the injured rookie season and also the year he returned from that injury. So right now, I think Julius Randle's value is depressed. So if we were going to ship Julius Randle out of here, do you think we'd be able to get a decent return? Or will we have to add, picks, maybe a young player in order to make a move?
I think it depends on who we're going for, but probably we're going to have to send a player whose value is depressed to get a player back whose value is depressed. So we're talking about De'Aaron Fox, and he's been having a funky little season. His shooting from three and his shot selection and his foul shooting and just everything. So, sometimes when you want to get rid of a problem, you got to take on another problem and hope that you can solve that problem more than the problem that you're shipping out.
Yeah, and that's the problem. That's the issue.
Boom.
Right? But it is a weird spot for us to be in because you just gave him that contract extension, and I've never seen a situation like this where it's been a complete 180. He was performing. He felt like he still wasn't necessarily at his peak. I felt like there was still some room for him to grow and improve, whether that be, turning the ball over and things like that. And now for this season to start and him to regress, I'm kind of shocked. In the offseason, I said I expected him to, maybe regress a little bit with the scoring because we brought in better offensive players and more talent to this team. But it's been the complete opposite. I mean, you've looked at how he's played throughout the season, month to month. In October, he started off, he was decent enough, 20 points. He was the only month he scored over 20 points. The only month he's averaged this year in which he scored or averaged a double-double. And he still had the 6.5 assists per game. So the first month we saw some form of the Julius Randle that we saw last year. But then after that, it completely fell off a cliff. Look, the points have just dropped month after month. There was a little uptick in December, but the rebounds have dropped month after month. Assists are a little bit higher in January just because he has decided he wasn't going to shoot much in games and just keep passing the ball, which is cool if we're winning. But I mean, in certain games where the score is close and we need some offensive production, it's Julius Randle that we're looking towards in order to make a play happen. So
yeah, we didn't spend 126 million for you to just take 9 shots and not take a shot in the fourth quarter like the last game.
For you to be a decoy.
Yeah,
it's ridiculous. So Foxy, do you think outside of De'Aaron Fox, what are some other players we could try to target if we were going to move on from a Julius Randle? Do you think we would try and go after a stretch big to take some minutes from Mitchell Robinson that can help us a little bit more offensively? Or do you think we try and target a point guard? You mentioned De'Aaron Fox, we'll talk about some other point guards a little bit later, but who do you think would probably be a decent fit here with this team?
I don't know. For a change, Foxy's at a loss because I just don't know who would take. I'm trying to be realistic. I could, be like some other, and do some speculation that has no truth to it, but I don't know who would really take him on. So I know, like we said, Fox, there's some, Sacramento as an organization that there's some truth to that. Begley's reported on that and others, but I don't, who would want to take him? We can talk about stuff, but some of the other guys, we talked about Christian Wood, maybe a Christian Wood, Eric Gordon, but then you're like saying, we just talked about Grimes. Why do we want to bring a guy in like that? And Christian Wood, we talked about some of the issues, him refusing to go in. So it's like we just said, like, wow, to get rid of a bad apple, we got to take a bad apple.
Yeah, I hear you on that one. Also, I think CP had also tweeted out and said that there's about 5 to 8 teams that have expressed some interest in Julius Randle. So Julius Randle becomes available for trade February 3rd. And I think if we find a reasonable deal, the Knicks should jump on it because I just don't know how Julius Randle turns this around. I don't think this is a issue with the way with his physical abilities. I just think it's all in his head. The the fractured relationship with him and the fans, and also sometimes I think him and his teammates. We've seen instances out there where we haven't seen positive signs or positive energy between him and, let's say, a Fournier, Obi, and things like that, or even RJ. You got RJ clapping at him like, give me the ball, I want to take the last shot. And then you see Julius Randle give it to him with about 3 or 4 seconds left when he can't do anything with it. So,
yeah, my dad was a wonderful dad, and he taught me a lot about loyalty. It was really important to him, and it's part of my DNA. And I don't understand. One thing, if you have an issue with the organization, you have an issue with fans, whatever it is, but you never have an issue with your teammates. You're in the foxhole with them. And so, like you just said, the example of, we have a saboteur in our midst. RJ is clapping his hands, and he gave it to him at the last second, so he couldn't do what he wanted to do, drive. He was cooking. So whether driving and get a foul, driving and kicking out, he put him in a situation to take a long three. And then the fourth quarter, yes, you watch that game against the Bucks, and just the fourth quarter, all you need, his effort, play after play, was just atrocious. And then there was, maybe it'll turn out to be an iconic play of why we don't have Julius in the next week or so, is he didn't make an effort boxing out or anything. And then Obi went down. He turned his head, looked at Obi on the floor. Bab just shrugged his shoulders and walked away, while RJ and Kemba ran over to help up Obi from the floor. Yo, you don't do that with your teammates. Smacking Fournier's hand when Fournier was trying to help him after yelling at the refs. Yo, thank you. So, folks, watch this. Watch his effort over here. Watch him turn around. He looks at him, just walks away, and the other guys go to help their teammate. I just can't. I can't deal with that, man. After, like we said, what he did to RJ, one thing after another. If you're going to do that with your teammates, like I said, you have issues with the fans, and fans could be assholes. I could understand that, but you never do that with your brothers. And it wasn't a coincidence. He looked over, looked at him, shrugged his shoulders, and said, "Hell with you," and walked away. You can't have a future with a player. It's not the only time. And there was also a thing in this game where at one point, I think it was RJ, I think it was also Kemba and maybe Burks. They ran over to him prior to a timeout where they were clapping at him. They were trying to, get him going. Like, it's cool. It's cool. It's cool. So the guys are trying to pep him up, and I think he's a lost cause, man. I think it's over. And whether it's weird. A year or so ago, 2 years ago, he had that season from hell, and then he said that he wanted to change everyone's opinion of him, and he had last season. He had the Atlanta playoffs, but he worked hard to change it, and then he does this again. So I thought he was mentally strong, but no, he's done. It's over. I don't think he could ever. I think, and I said this about a month ago on our show, like a fighter, that you can't teach him. The minute he gets touched on the chin, he's going to have that bad attitude, bad yelling at the refs. How many times is he not running up court? His screens, he just walks. He'll just walk and stop. And that's the definition of a screen for him at this point in time. That's not a good thing. And also, we're talking about Cam getting on the court because Thibs says, you have to earn those minutes. What the hell? Are you serious, man? Are you blind? The Knicks fandom, the SV Nation, everybody is seeing this guy's lackadaisical play, but also, like I said, almost sabotaging our efforts. And you're not taking his ass out. So I'm like saying to myself, if he's not traded by February 10th, then you better either bench his ass, put him on the second team or whatever. But if you don't curtail that behavior and go with the youth movement, and you condone his body language and his actions, that's actions, walking away like that, if he wasn't called on the carpet for that stuff and said, you pull that shit one more time, I don't give a fuck. Excuse my French. I'm all lit up with this guy that you won't see, and good, you get your salary, but watch what'll happen. But we can't take this shit anymore, Julius. Enough. And I don't understand his agents, his wife, his family getting into his head. You can't do that. Honey, you can't do that. One thing is getting upset, but you're destroying what you worked your whole life for. And what is this going to be, a Nick Anderson moment where he can never recover?
Seems like
So
it.
yeah,
Seems like it might need a new home elsewhere in order to get past this.
yeah, get the hell out of
Uh,
here, man. But
yeah, but
also, that's why I think from a roster, there's nobody on this team that'll get into his face, though. There should have been somebody in the locker room after that, after the game, or saying, "This is bullshit, man. This is bullshit. You pull
I mean,
that
because
crap again."
what vet can really go after him like that? You look at it, Fournier's new,
But
Kimba's
that's the
fairly
roster
new.
constructing. We got a guy, Solomon Hill, in the Atlanta trade. I think would have the gall, but Mace. We're growing up with guys like Mace and Oakley. That would never go down on our teams. You pull that crap, you're going to have somebody who's beating your ass at halftime or after the game. Like, you will not do that shit, man. And nobody on this team will step up and say, "Cut that crap out. That doesn't play here."
Yeah,
You
I
don't
hear
have
you on
tough
that
guys
one.
on this team.
Yeah, Anthony 212 says Rose is a silent leader. And we don't have too many vocal leaders on this team. I mean, RJ seems like he's starting to develop one. He's at least showing up to press conferences every game and not ducking the media. So it seems like he can start growing into one, which would be perfect for this team. But I don't want it all on RJ. You would like to have someone else to be an outlet, or a pressure release, someone else that can go and speak with the media along with RJ. So it's not only RJ that we're hearing from.
Yeah, Rose is a leader when he's on the court, but I've never seen a silent leader off the court. Either you open up your mouth and show that you're a leader, otherwise,
Well, some people lead by actions. I won't say
but that's
you
what I'm
have to
saying. Their
be.
actions on the court.
Okay. Yeah. All right. So we've got Vibe Shot saying hit that like button. It's currently got 296 people in chat. Let's see how many likes we got. And we're at 82 likes. So few of y'all do us a solid. Smash that like button. Let's see if we can get up over 100. I appreciate you guys tuning in here with us here on Sports Vibes TV Sunday night, especially when there's some playoff games being played. So the fact that you're here means a lot to both me and Foxy. So thank you guys for tuning in.
Thank you so much.
Anyone you want to shout out, Foxy?
Let's see. Jonathan Ruiz, Lorenzo Gibbs, Green Lantern 123, D Nice 77, one of our favorites, Geraldine MacGyver.
Salute to her.
Yeah, president of I Can't Stand Thibs, and I am the vice president. So, Geraldine, you're always number one in our book. Let's see. E. Lex Destroyer, one of the great mods in history. Yep. Kareem Grant, Trini 2DB 868, my friend, your friend, everyone's friend, Adele Chapman. Hope all is well with you and the family.
We've got a comment from Yves St. Ville saying Ben Simmons to New York. We're actually going to be talking about Ben Simmons later on in the show, and he could be heading to New York, but it might not be the Knicks. So we'll talk about that a little bit later. Make sure you guys stay tuned for that, for the Around the League segment. All right, Foxy, let's pivot to a little bit more positive news. And that's the fact that our leader at point guard, the silent leader we just discussed, Derrick Rose, could potentially return February 25th. He's been out since, December 16th, I believe, the game against Houston. And since then, the Knicks have been 10-11 since we shut him down. We've missed him, but I think a lot of people say, the bench misses him, but I think the bench has excelled in his absence. I think we miss him as a potential option to start. Or if you want to say, okay, we can elevate Quickley and put Rose on the bench, then, that way you have a little bit more of an argument. But I feel like if Derrick Rose was an option, this team would probably be a little bit better, because then we wouldn't have kept Kimba out there. And we've said time and time again, if Thibs is going to go with Evan Fournier in the starting lineup, he can't be out there with Kimba. Those are two players that are big negatives defensively. D Rose isn't a defensive guru, but he's an upgrade compared to Kimba Walker. So I think if we were able to bring him back February 25th, do you think it'll be too late for the Knicks to make a push?
Yeah, I do. A couple things, and it was really illustrated over the last couple of weeks. We couldn't close in a few games. We went cold. Miss. If you looked at the last 10 possessions on a few of the games, we couldn't close out. And if D Rose was here, that changes. He is wonderful when we need a bucket. He was instrumental last year, and he's just has that talent. But I was doing some. I think we're on pace to have like a 30-52 season. So him coming back, it would be like 22 or so games based on the comments that were made, whether it's the February 25th game against Miami or so. So I know this is going to sound a little crazy, and I love D Rose. I trade him if I could. If I can get like a Mook type of thing, get a late first round pick for him, I trade D Rose. I'd go with this youth movement and say, D Rose, we love you and everything. But again, I'm old school at 33. He has ankle issues. So this was one ankle, is the next ankle going to go? He's had catastrophic knee injuries. He's to me, a Hall of Fame player, but you can't ask him to, pull magic again. And what good would it do us in the last 20 some odd games? If we can get a number one pick, get rid of his contract, I'd go that way. And thanks, Derek. But we have to look to the future, and he's a 33-year-old guy. He's not going to be part of our future.
Yeah, I would try to move on from Derrick Rose too, but I think if you, like us as Knicks fans, if last year you looked at Derrick Rose, even though he was being sat out, but he wasn't returning from surgery. If us as Knicks fans heard the Knicks were going to make a trade for a Derrick Rose who was just coming off of ankle surgery and wouldn't be able to play until a week or two after the trade deadline, I'd be in an uproar. So I don't know if there's teams that are going to be willing to trade for a guy like D Rose. Like this was one, random occurrence, random injury, then I can understand him still having somewhat of a high trade value where he can net a first, like a Morris when we traded him. But I just don't see teams being willing to make the move for Rose. Yes, he can be impactful, but year after year, he's missing extended periods of time. So it might put us in a position where we can't move on from him. And it's not like Derrick Rose is making a little bit of money. He's making almost twice what Kimba's making. I think Kimba's making right around 8, and then Rose is making 14. So it's still a move that teams would have to make a big investment, both in draft capital and also in cap space. So I think with that, we may end up being, stuck. I don't want to say it negatively like that, be stuck with him, but we're going to have to keep him and maybe revisit a trade in the offseason if D Rose can prove that he's healthy in these last few months of the season.
Yeah. Hey, D Rose at this age hit on one ankle is still better than 75% of players in the NBA. And also what we talked about, he's a class act. I love D Rose. So we won't be experiencing any of the stuff we just touched on with Julius. The kids look up to him. He's just a really good guy. So we love the best for him, but we also have to be realistic about his body breaking down. You saw the ankle. He had ankle surgery, but you saw it coming in the playoffs against Atlanta last year where he was hobbled. They're just acting up. And it was funny in Thibs' press conference, he talked about his ankles, plural, not ankle. So it's something to think about. But like you said, maybe the value's not there. I don't know whether there would be some teams that had an advanced scout and then work with, let us look at him, because maybe they think maybe it's a 1-year thing or so, but maybe he can put us over the top for us to win the ring. But I think your points are all valid. That I don't think, like you said, I'm trying to think of a better way to say we're not stuck with them. But
yeah, I was thinking the same thing too. Yeah, he's a piece that can contribute. So putting that
and also he's a class act. You don't want to, you don't want to be derogatory against a guy that you have great respect for because of the way he plays and the way he conducts himself. And but at the same time, coming back with 22 games, what are you expecting, folks, for him to do coming back like that in the last 22 games? What kind of magic do you think he's going to bring? Especially when you have a negativity, if there's a really good shot, folks, Randle's still going to be here. And
yeah, exactly.
So we got to be realistic. So D Rose could be the most magical guy in the world, but it's hard to be D Rose with a rhythm vampire like Randle.
Yeah, so I just put a poll in the chat asking SB Nation what they think the Knicks should do with D Rose by the trade deadline. Should we try and move on for him and get something like a late first if it's available to us? Or should we keep him, allow him to continue mentoring the youth and playing with guys like Obi and Immanuel Quickley in that second unit and just move forward like that? Is Rose going to be that mentor for the kids? Because let's be honest, we can't just have all young players out there and still try to be competitive, because I want the team to be competitive. We were competitive last year, and we may not be able to build upon that with the vets that we have now, but I can still see us playing the kids, being a similar 500 team or five in that area, in that ballpark, and playing some good games out there. Because I think if you look at this team, we're we're at our best right now with the kids on the floor. So as long as we have some vets out there just to keep them, under control, because they're still young. There's moments where they do have some lapses here and there, but to have a vet to keep them and put them under the ring, let them know when you're traveling, relax, don't get too crazy. We saw Grimes out there taking pictures in Miami and whatnot, so it's good to have a vet out there just to be that big brother to some of these young guys and make sure they don't get crazy.
But especially with his demeanor and his respect, they'll listen to a guy like that because he's quiet, cool. Right? You know who reminds me of? This guy Keese. Quiet, cool. SB Nation, I don't know if you know this guy Keese. He's one of the coolest dudes I've ever met, but he's just like D Rose. Delivers every time, but he's just quiet, cool, just smooth.
I hear you. Adidas, if you're watching, can I get that D Rose merch contract as well, please?
Yeah, ladies and gentlemen, the Adidas SB Nation line.
Facts. Also, we got a super chat from our guy SB Gorilla. It says, send Rose home. Derek for Derek Jones Jr. and Tony Bradley. Waive the incoming players. I love Rose, but the young guards need to play. I mean, we can't trade Rose and then waive the incoming players. That means we get nothing for D Rose.
Yeah, but Tony, I don't know if I would waive Tony Bradley and stuff like that. And Derek, well, it's something to think about. I think that's thought provoking. Thank you, SB. We appreciate the generosity in the super chat, but it's something. Yeah, it's something for us to think about. And him going home and they're having some injuries over there. It's not a bad idea.
They lost Lonzo
and Caruso, and yeah. So something to think about. Thank you. Yeah.
That is definitely a good idea. All right, let's see what else we have going on in the chat. So far, 70% say no, we should keep D Rose. And also, shout out to SB Nation. You guys got us up over 100 likes, and they're playing with the numbers. It goes from like 300 to 1 every 5 minutes, but it says we have about 320 in chat. So thank you guys for tuning in and holding us down, supporting the channel. We appreciate all the support, especially with the Knicks not winning a lot of games recently. So the fact that you guys are tuned in and supporting the channel, supporting Foxy and I, we greatly appreciate it.
And I just got a troll with my left hand, so I'm I'm getting very good at doing all this stuff and even getting trolls.
yeah, man. The more we do it, the better you get. Now I'm pulling things up from Twitter as well as playing videos and getting the slides. So the more we do this, the better we'll get. Appreciate the mods for holding it down.
Yeah, I was wondering why you don't wear shoes when you do the show.
How did you know? I got slippers. I got some Nike slides on right now. Hey, they could be Yeezy slides if Adidas seasons. He's giving out D Rose type contracts.
Word.
All right, let's pivot as well. Let's move a little bit, and we'll talk about players that the Knicks could target if we were going to trade, whether that be vets like Alec Burks, like Fournier, and Julius Randle. So what are some players that we should try and target, Foxy, if you think we are going to continue playing and going with the vet movement? I want us to try and bring in players that can fit in with this young nucleus. So two names that have been named, that have been linked to the Knicks. You have De'Aaron Fox, now that they've broken off trade talks with the 76ers, and we'll be looking, at other avenues to better their team. And there's also players like a Jalen Brunson from the Mavs who could be available with the Mavs, not necessarily having the requisite cap space to bring him back in the offseason. So outside of those two, are there any other names you think the Knicks could try and pursue, or you think those two are the ones the Knicks should try and get?
I think those two are the most realistic. Obviously, me love DeJounte Murray, but That's just fantasy. We're not going to get him, folks. And so I think Jalen Brunson is the most realistic, but even then, I do a lot of my homework looking at Dallas, not New York based sports writers and stuff. And a lot of them are saying they don't think Jalen's going to get traded. They think that they're, I think, in the fifth spot, that they think that Jalen, they're going to keep him and they'll make some moves at the end of the season, maybe get rid of Dorian or something like that to free up space. But they want to keep him. And there's also speculation that Detroit Pistons like him. So there's a real good shot that we're not going to get anybody this offseason. I know there's a lot of speculation. And De'Aaron Fox, like I said, I want to get rid of Randle in the worst way, but point guard is such a critical role. Brunson is the best solution for us, hands down. He's the most. He's the best fit. Makes the most sense. He would be a winning type of player. Fox has this great speed, but like I said, his shot selection will drive us crazy. Just going through the numbers on him, he's 24. He just turned 24 about 41 days ago. As we know, he's a 5th round pick. He's averaging 21 points, 5.2 assists, 45.8 as you have up there. But his shot chart, he does get to the hole. From a frequency standpoint, there's a lot of Thibs would love in him. He gets to the hole 29%. He's in a 63 percentile getting to the hole. He's very good at elite in the short mid range, just has absolutely no 3-point game. We can deal with that, but his shooting accuracy he's in the 81 percentile at the rim. He's at almost the 80 percentile on short mid range, almost 80 percentile on long mid range. But then it just goes really downhill from there. 12 percentile shooting, 26% for all threes and stuff like that. Or as you have 24-8. But folks, the big thing is defense. His defensive rating is 115.8. So Marcus Smart has 107. Jalen Brunson's 108. Just so you know that this will really turn you on. Kemba Walker's 111. So Kemba Walker is better defensively statistically than De'Aaron Fox. He averages 1.2 steals, as you see up there, a little less than a half a block. And he's not a New York Knicks type of player. So I know we want to get rid of Randle, but I'm telling you, with his shot selection, his lack of 3-pointers, and I know he's young, and hopefully with a Johnny Bryant, a point guard whisperer, we could bring out the best in him. And I do think he could get better, but that's a lot of money. That's a max contract, folks, to take on. Jalen Brunson would bring, Jalen Brunson is elite. I mean, elite when you're talking about just delivering. Let me see. Here we go.
I know
his shot chart is everything that a Thibs in New York. He gets to the hole and, he shoots around league average. He gets 22% of his shots are at the rim, 56% of his shots at mid range, and then 22% at 3. But he's in the 91 percentile at finishing at the rim. You love that. He's in the 94 percentile on short mid range, 4 to 14 feet. He's in the 70% on long mid range. And then, like I said, he shoots around league average from 3, but he is, and like I said, on defense. So Marcus Smart's defensive rating is 107. His is 108. He's drawn 26 offensive fouls this season. He's smart. He has the pedigree. I hope he makes the most sense out of anyone available. And like I said, DeJounte, there's others that we love, but it's not really realistic. We love to say that, talk about it. Jalen would make the most sense of anybody out there, folks.
Okay. Also, I put another poll in chat. I closed the last one, and we had a pretty solid turnout. I believe it said we had 141 people participate in the chat, and it says that the majority, I think it was 73%, don't want us to move on from Rose. Yes, yeah. 141 votes, 73% say no, and 26% say yes. So I just dropped another poll in the chat for SV Nation to participate in. You guys can pick who we should try and target. Should we target a Jalen Brunson, or should we try and target a De'Aaron Fox? Also, while I was doing that, it seems like we have 2 super chats. So I want to make
I was
sure
about to say that too. We got 2 of them. Lewis Wilkinson, the first one up.
Okay, let's see. I want to put it on screen, so let me get to it. Bear with me while the slow computer scrolls. La-da-dee-da-da-da. We probably lost half of the.
Well, my dog's barking again. I know.
Well, we'll blame that one on you. I'm not taking the blame
word.
for that
I know.
One.
But
Miguel
you got a
P
serenade.
was the first one, right? So Miguel P, thank you for the super chat. It says send Randle home for Hardaway and Brunson. I don't know if I want Hardaway's contract either.
And he's also injured.
Yeah, that too. And that also pivots away from the youth movement, I think. Brunson is cool, but Hardaway, yeah. We already had 2 stints.
I was about to say third time's not always the charm. You beat me to
That's a fact. That's a fact. Let's see. We got another one from Lewis Wilkinson. It says, gentlemen, the problem we are facing is Thibs. He's not playing the youth much and running vets in the ground. When is that going to change? Honestly, we've been asking when's Thibs going to change since he got here. And the only way he's going to change is more COVID, which we saw him make a change. And, you're not wishing that on anyone. Or the front office has to, force him to make a change. And not necessarily by going down there and saying change your coaching staff. But, hey, let's get rid of some of these vets. Let's get some more young pieces that we can add to this nucleus and continue to build that way. If Thibs doesn't have a Tops Gibson, a Alec Burks, a Evan Fournier, a Kemba Walker to play, a boatload of minutes, he's going to have to look further down his bench and look at players that are young and hungry, like a Deuce McBride, like even a Jericho Sims, and put them into the rotation.
I totally agree, man. But running into the ground, that's his MO. He did it in Chicago. He did it in Minnesota. He brought up an article by Haley O'Shaughnessy. She was about 2 years ago when she was at the Ringer, and she had 5 steps to his coaching, and that is one of the key things that he runs the guys into the ground. And we said it just a couple of games ago. You had those guys play 40 some odd minutes, and yet you wouldn't play Obi and Cam and everything else. So that's who he is. So the only way that's going to change if he's not here.
Facts. We also got another one in a special currency. I actually did
That's Malaysian.
Yeah. Yep. It's called a Malaysian.
So thank you for Malaysia.
Yeah, thank you for our international viewers. We greatly appreciate it. Let's see. This one's coming from Ivan Omar. He says, if you want to develop the kids, you have to keep D Rose for at least another year. If not for his ability to contribute when he plays, for his leadership. The kids all look up to him on and off the court.
Ivan, that's great advice. Killer take. Kudos.
Yep. Also,
and thank you so much for
contribution.
Thank you so much for your generosity. We greatly appreciate it, and your support and being part of the SV Nation.
Facts. Also, we have another one from Antonio Estrada Del Fos. I hope I pronounced it right. If I did,
Del Fassi or okay.
Del Fassi. Okay, that might be better. Yeah. I think if we are going young, then McBride is the way to go. I just mentioned him. So salute. You led us right into it. McBride is the way to go. He's a mini Grimes on defense, and he attacks the rim more than Quickley. I think McBride still has to tighten his handle up a little bit. That's something we saw Quick do in the offseason. So hopefully Deuce can do that, while he's not getting minutes with the team, or maybe even in the offseason. And then we'll see him be included in the rotation a little bit more. I mean, we have heard reports that the Knicks are happy with what he's shown, behind the scenes and in the G League. So I look forward to him being a major part in that point guard, rotation in years to come. I just don't know if this season is going to be the one, especially.
And don't forget your guy, Rokas.
Yeah, Rokas, he's going to be an issue as well. He's going to be someone that's going to throw his hat into the ring in order to be, in that point guard rotation. I think, like I said, this team is deep, whether that be players currently on the roster or players playing overseas. We've got options.
And Antonio, Jalen is 25 and a quarter, so he'll be 26 next season. And I say, I've said this before that Jalen is Deuce with handles, and so, but he has 4 years on him. So that's what I'm hoping in the next few years. Like Keith just said, if Deuce can get those handles, that'll make him a lot faster and a lot. Sometimes people say you can't get faster. Well, handles will make you quicker. Believe me. So that's what we're hoping for a few guys on this team, including Grimes, that he improves his handles, including RJ. But I'm a Deuce lover, man. So I would love to see Deuce get some burn. It depends. I don't know about this season. There's a good shot. Hopefully it'll be sometime next season, starting with the summer league.
Yeah. Also, JD sent me a stat about Brunson too. It says him and Obi are both shooting at 71% around the rim.
Yeah, they're who Deuce.
No,
Yeah,
Brunson and
Brunson.
Obi.
Yeah, Brunson is killing it right here. He at the rim is shooting 70%, right on the dot. That's our JD.
Yep. So I mean, he has value. He can contribute. It's just you'd have to
But
trade.
He's in the elite. Yeah,
and you'd also have to play.
Yeah.
All right, so I'm gonna close the poll. Right now, Brunson is in the lead at the 57%. I mean, if I had to choose between the two, I'd probably go Brunson. But if you want to make a splash, go out there and get Halliburton. If you want to talk pie in the sky, hey, that's the point guard I'd rather have from Sacramento as opposed to De'Aaron Fox. But maybe that's just me.
Well, Halliburton is in the mold of DeJounte. He got that big 6'4", 6'5" guard, has that great wingspan that's disruptive in passing lanes, has great vision. In a couple of years you could see is literally a triple double. 17 points, 11 rebounds, 10 assists. That type of player. You just love that, and also attitude. He's a killer. No, just meaning I love that. Huh?
What are you smiling about? Funny. He said, "What would it take to get Cade Cunningham? It take everything.
Yeah,
it takes some stock in MSG. Yeah, it take a little bit of everything to get Cade.
It has to be on an heir to the Dolan fortune.
yeah, man.
Another super chat.
I close the poll. I'll get to it. Give me 1 second. I closed the poll. It says Brunson. He's the winner. The SV Nation, they voted 56% say we should target Brunson. 43% say we should target Fox. And then let me get to that super chat, and then I'll throw another hat in the ring so we can discuss. Give me 1 second. Let me see if I can find it.
Miguel?
Here we go. Salute to Miguel. Thank you for the super chat. It says money works with Randle's kicker. Also, Hardaway won't play this year. Contract is front-loaded and movable if he doesn't fit. Solves two problems. I think it kind of compounds the problem, though, because that brings in another wing, and we're trying to get Cam minutes. So unless we're able to get, more than just, Fournier or Burks included in that deal, then I think it's just gonna be another logjam. Right? Because what was the original trade? It was Julius Randle and who else for Hardaway and Brunson? Or was it just Hardaway or Julius Randle straight up?
I don't know. Just meaning the money wouldn't work with just Brunson. He makes, chump change.
Oh, no, it was always Brunson and Hardaway, but I thought the initial trade was Julius Randle, but I can't remember exactly if there was another piece with Randle in the deal. Because if it's Randle and, say, Fournier, if it's just Randle, then now you still have Fournier, you still have Burks, you added Hardaway Jr., and you still have Cam and Grimes.
That's
trying to find some minutes.
No good.
So unless you're able to move Fournier and Burks, whether they're included in the Randle deal or in separate deals, it's going to be hard to make the minutes work. Let's see what else we have. And then also the next player I wanted to throw into the ring that has been making some waves is Anfernee Simons. Foxy, how do you feel about Simons? Do you think he could potentially be someone the Knicks target? He's another player that's going to be I believe, restricted free agent or unrestricted. I'm not 100% sure. I believe it's restricted. I think we checked.
I thought he's a restricted free agent. I think he's a restricted free agent next year, not this year.
I thought it was this. Let me pull up I thought it was this season. Yeah, let me pull up the spot track. I type in Simons and it shows me
Ben? Oh.
No, it shows me fashion. Fashion. Contract. And with Spot Track, it says that we do all this googling. I bet you somebody in the chat tells us before. So
Yeah.
yeah, his last season, so they'd have to extend the qualifying offer for 22-23. So yeah, so he's off at the end of this season. He's getting paid 3.9, and then next season they can offer the qualifying at 5.7 to make him restricted.
Yeah,
So
I look at him, and I said this with George. I look at him more as a shooting guard. You look at his shot chart and his shooting frequency. He loves the threes, but he is in the 24th percentile. He gets to the rim. 16% of his shots are at the rim. So he's not a guy that breaks down defenses. 20, 31% of his shots are from mid range. So he loves the 3-point shot. He's a very, very good shooter. He's not a good shooter at the rim, actually. He's in the 35 percentile at 57%, but across the board from there on, he's an elite 3-point shooter. But here's the big thing, folks. He's terrible on defense. Terrible on defense. He has a 118.5 defensive rating this year. So, like I said, Kemba Walker has a 111 defensive rating. So this guy is a 118. He averages a half a steal, not even a 0.1 of a block. He doesn't, Kemba has drawn 22 offensive fouls. This guy draws 4. He's an offensive machine. He's a microwave, but I do not see him as a point guard. No way, no how with his game. So, meaning I see him in the same realm as an IQ. I think he's a very talented guy, but he's not. I don't see him as our point guard of the future.
I mean, I think he's a talented player. I got him in fantasy, so he's killing for me. It all depends also what he's looking in free agency. If he hits free agency and he's asking for a bag, you look at our cap situation. We already have RJ Barrett that we have to pay. You are looking at us having to pay Mitchell Robinson if we decide to keep him. I mean, if we're able to move on from Julius Randle, at some point we're gonna have to pay Obi too. So if you're looking at a lot of these players that want, I won't say max money, but you're talking about deals in the 15 to $20 million range, how many of those can we accumulate here on this roster? There's only so many. I mean,
Especially
Simons
with,
has been
yeah,
ball.
yeah.
Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, especially with the number one on the list is RJ's bag. We got to make sure RJ's bag is all ready.
I think I think Simons is a solid piece, and he could work here with us. But I'm not again 100% sure if he's the one that's going to set things in motion. Plus, I feel like he needs the ball in his hand a little bit, and we've discussed here that R.J. Barrett works better when he has a point guard that's not necessarily ball dominant. I think that's why Brunson kind of fits in. Brunson can work off ball. He's done that when he's in the rotation with Luka. So that's one thing I kind of put as a pro to Brunson that I might say would be a con to Simons. Even though Simons has played off ball when Lillard is out there on the court, I just don't think that's the best version of Simons. So are we going to give Simons the bag and have him just work strictly off ball, or we're going to give him the bag, have him with the ball in his hand, and then kind of take away from RJ's game? It's a very delicate situation with the way RJ plays and what makes RJ great and what is the right point guard to match with him.
Yeah, it's funny because exactly you nailed it, and it was funny because I was looking at some stats today on Donovan Mitchell. His usage rate is so high, folks. It's like almost 37%, one of the highest in the league. So immediately I said in my head, what's the impact on RJ and other people when you have somebody that has that type of usage rate? So there's so many. It's a complex thing that you're trying to put together. Get it so everybody feels part of the team and engage rather than just one guy that's just a ball hog and stuff like that. But like I said, I just think there's so much similarities between Simons and I see it at least. It may not be true, but that's what this is about. Everyone has different observations. I think there's a lot of IQ as part of his game, same size. IQ is a much better defender. And I think IQ will eventually be shooting at a higher rate, but the cost of Simons would be, I think, I think they'd ask a lot, and you hate to do that when there's
Especially with Lillard, not necessarily knowing what his situation is.
that's their insurance policy for Lillard. Exactly. So I hate from a redundancy standpoint getting somebody that we have somebody with a lot of those characteristics that's already a much better defensive player.
Also,
I
I
love
want to
defense.
give a shout out to Steve Larson. He says Brunson or Fox will not turn this ship around. I don't think we're at a point where we can really turn the ship around. It would take too many moves, and we're already in a season, and it'll be hard for us to make those moves to turn the ship around and then try to get everybody on the same page. So I'm looking for small moves that can, not necessarily small moves, but a move that'll help move us in the right direction. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? And bringing in a guy like Brunson, who's a player that can play off ball, and still, you said he's great at finishing in the rim. He's a decent enough three-point shooter, and he can play some decent enough defense. I think that would be a small move, getting a young player that we can add to this nucleus and continue to build for next season. So I don't think any move we make here at the trade deadline is going to necessarily turn the ship around. I don't think there's going to be a D Rose trade on the horizon that's going to help push us, towards the playoffs.
Yeah, I'm with you. And I'm also looking at we talked about defense and development. And Brunson is the type of player, whether it's an RJ, he would help him grow. Put him in his spots. Like you said, he's cool with that. I don't know whether De'Aaron Fox, has that capability of helping other guys develop around them. I think Brunson does, and he's so much more expensive than Brunson. It's crazy.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Right now, it says we've got over 370 in chat and 165 likes. Do us a solid. If you haven't liked already, now would be a great time for you to smash that like button. Also, you're watching in the replay. Make sure you smash that like button and subscribe. Subscribe. Make sure you have notifications set to all. That way, you're notified whenever we go live, whenever we drop, NBA new or Knicks news, rumors, and analysis. Even though we're starting to dive into some NBA content, general NBA content, which we'll get into in the next segment. Anybody you want to shout out in the chat, Foxy?
Yeah, I'll take a second to say hello if you don't mind. We see our brother into the Knicks first, George. Congratulations again. I'm blowing past that 4,000 subscriber milestone. If you haven't subscribed to Into the Knicks first, please subscribe. It'll be one of the smartest decisions you make this year. Hi, Paul Butler. I already mentioned D. Burr, but I can't say him enough. He's a really cool dude. Dan Marrero, JG. We'll get into your comments during the lounge. I just want to shout you out for the moment. Steve Larson, Guap Luciano, Rude Boy, Jay from Washington Heights. Yo! John Talento, our good friend. Hope all is well with you and the family. D Nice, Scott P, B Simmons. Let's see. Tom Ford, one of my favorite designers. Thank you for your support. You're back every week. We appreciate it. The same thing with Mike Morgan. Let's see. Magnum Boom, SP, Max Cali, D Public Enemy #1. Yo, Knicks 100 a game. Again, always here. We appreciate all your support. Keith Turner, Joseph Chavez, A Mill, Scott Novak, Jay Dragon. Let's see. I don't want to.
We got a new subscriber here, Endangered Species. Salute. If you're new, make sure you drop hashtag new. That way we can, give you a shout out. Thank you for joining. And also make sure you're subscribed. That way you're notified whenever we do go live. We'll be going live again next Sunday. We do this every Sunday at 8 p.m. except for Super Bowl Sunday. We're going to discuss what we're planning on doing then. So keep an eye out for any announcements on that one.
I thought we were just gonna get our party on that day.
Hey, if we decide to not have a show, we'll make that announcement as well that way, so everybody knows what's going on.
Quick shout out to I'm sorry, I was going to just say a quick shout out to Hadouken Sharon's No Life Pod. If you haven't subscribed to Hadouken, again, please, he's a great young mind. I love his takes. Shout out to my friend Hard Will from For the Love of the Game, him, Heck, Worldwide L, 3 of my friends. If you haven't subscribed, please subscribe to. They have great show, great content, great dudes, man. So if you haven't subscribed For the Love of the Game, please do, folks. Really good guys.
Okay, sorry. A super chat from Adele. No need to apologize. We got a super chat from Adele. Appreciate the support. He says, do we stash our second round picks like Rokas or punting? I mean, I like the fact that we were able to stash Rokas overseas playing for Barcelona, because look at what we're getting from, Deuce. Deuce is playing spot games here for the Westchester Knicks. And then outside of that, he's sitting on the bench, not really being able to develop to his best ability. So I'm cool with us making sound picks like a Rokas in the second round and giving them the opportunity to play overseas and develop their game. I think we're seeing a lot from Rokas over these last few months. He's been playing well. He's also in the running to be one of the rising, the Rising Stars
Rising Star
Award.
Award,
So I'm
which
cool
was
with
won
us
by the Who's
drafting
Who.
Stash. Yeah, we put that up. Luca, Nikola Mirotic, Ricky Rubio, to name a few. So I'm fine with us stashing the second round picks. Every move can't be for the now. You have to do some for present, and you also have to project and see where you want to be within the next 2 or 3 years, and take players like a Rokas in the second round and store them in Europe. Because remember, they picked Rokas before they picked Deuce. So that
Yeah.
tells you, they really liked Rokas, and they felt like they had a plan in place. Because even with Summer League, he played what, 1 or 2 games, and then he was out.
Yep. But he showed he hit threes. He showed his camaraderie with the rest of the team, as you said last week. He keeping in contact with the guys, and we mentioned this, folks. In Barcelona, they're trying to win a championship. It's a whole different paradigm from the guys in the G League that go down there that just showcase their skills. So he took over. It's a different world over there. He took over for their starting point guard. So Rokas. So he jumped in for a vet, and he's delivering at this level. It's the second best league in the world. So his point guard skills, his floor generalship, you couldn't ask any more. It's a great thing for us, and it's a win-win. Hopefully he'll be part of our rotation. If not, he'll be a really valuable trade asset. What's that smile for?
I was just laughing at endangered species. He said new but long time lurker. It's all good, but we appreciate that we put out enough content that you felt it was warranted to actually join the discussion, and hopefully you subscribe. So we'll see you next Sunday when we stream it again. It's all good.
Yeah, we appreciate it. And like we said, please do that hashtag news so we can give you a proper welcome to the SV Nation.
Facts. Look at what Agent Super Argo said. Cam Reddish ready to explode if given the opportunity, and Thibs ignoring his talent for this repetitive nonsense. I mean, you've even got his buddy Jeff Van Gundy saying that changes have to be made, and he's out there putting the same starting lineup. It doesn't make sense. Same starting lineup and same tired rotations.
Yeah, and we know there's a fraternity with head coaches. So for Gundy to make that comment, how emotional or how like this is crazy, man. You got to blow this stuff up, and especially nothing upsets a coach more, a real coach like Van Gundy, than lack of effort. So he could put up with some things, but some things like, no, man, you got to change this shit up, man. This is inexcusable. Come on, Tom, you're better than this. And what we just said, Agent, Cam lit up Milwaukee in the playoffs last year, 64% from three. He played dynamite, and yet he didn't give him any burn the other night, which is just crazy.
Yeah, Vibe Shop says Thibs needs to go. We need to hire Kenny Atkinson.
Yeah,
I'm cool with bringing in Kenny Atkinson. That's my guy. I think he'd definitely do a great job for this team, but I don't think we can do it in season. Too much turnover.
Yeah, and drama. Yeah, we don't want it. But Kenny Atkinson, we talked about.
Got enough drama with Julius Randle. We don't need a coaching controversy as well.
Yeah,
even though we've got one with the fan base.
Yeah, we love a coach that has shown development with young guys. We love a guy who has been a head coach. That's a lot of people, Johnny Bryant and everything, and it's nothing against Johnny Bryant, but you don't want a guy learning on our dime how to become a head coach. We want that, but also he's an assistant coach on Golden State, meaning Kenny Atkinson. So for him being witness to that, they're phenomenal on offense. They're phenomenal on defense. Everything about their team, the way they're developing, whether it's a Kuminga, whether it's a Moses Moody, all those things, it would only be a very smart move for us to go that direction.
Right, yeah, I hear you on that one. So we're going to pivot a little bit, and we're going to jump into some NBA news, even though it is pretty local to us. And that's news that the 76ers are going to look and try and trade for James Harden in the offseason. There's been some rumblings that James Harden has not been happy during his time in Brooklyn, not really enjoying his time in the city or just playing for that team. And I don't blame him. They don't have the fan base like that you would expect from a team in New York. I mean, I know, yes, technically people say they're from Long Island originally, but if you were born in the 90s or, even in the 80s, I would assume you view the Jets, you view the Nets as a Jersey team That's me. Coming up, I remember watching the Kid, Carter, Kittle, Keith Van Horn days. Those were the Nets. And that was a likable team. I liked it when they got smoked by Kobe and the Lakers. I was all for that. But now it seems like they've tried to make this move to Brooklyn, not really working out. And he's a little bit frustrated, they say. It seems like with Kyrie.
You don't like Kyrie? No way, no how.
I mean, think about it. You came here so you can, kind of ease the burden on you. Win a chip, but also ease the burden in order to get that chip. You wanted to come and play with 3 superstars. And now KD's missing time. Kyrie's here some days, gone the other. And James Harden is the one that has to go out there and play with a supporting cast that, looks like a supporting cast when you're paying 3 guys max deals or, close enough to a max deal. So, Foxy, how did you feel about the news when you heard it? Did you think this was something that we should have expected when we saw James Harden get sent over to Brooklyn?
Totally. Just meaning there's not a lot of pros. And meaning he sacrificed his game. He took on a hope from a great respect standpoint, from assists and everything. He changed his game to accommodate the other guys. Harden wants that chip in the worst way at this stage of his career. But the song remains the same, whether it's at Boston or Cleveland or whatever. Kyrie's not he's just an unbelievably talented guy, but an unbelievably bad teammate. Everywhere he goes, there's people that just say, I hated that dude. So that, and also it's not surprising. He's tight with Morey and the guys from his Houston days that are now at Philadelphia. So it would make sense. And also I thought, Chicago, and especially the NBA, made a thing last year. There's some rumors about tampering already with Harden, and that they set a precedent last year. It's like, I don't care about tampering. If the NBA just is going to do a second round pick like they did on Lonzo Ball, hell,
for me Knicks to need to start tampering. We've got so many.
I love keys.
Right? Listen,
you got to play the game. If that's the game, you got to play what everyone's doing. So yeah, he likes
Knicks
the management.
Need to treat tampering like Oprah. You get a second. You get a second. You get a second. Everybody gets seconds. We're tampering left and right.
Especially when you have the amount of second round picks that we have.
Exactly.
So we're not doing that, but it makes all the sense in the world. He's tight with those dudes down in Philadelphia that used to be in Houston, and now that is something I'd love to see. Talk about a circus. Ben Simmons, Kyrie on the same team.
Right? Man, both head cases. God bless him. But see, me, honestly, I thought the best move would have been to trade Ben for a Kyrie. The 76ers, they needed a point guard, even though now Maxey has kind of stepped into that role. And you looked at the Nets, they needed something. They needed a defender like a Ben Simmons, an elite defender. And
that's what's killing them now. No defense on that team.
Exactly. So they'll satisfy that when they end up trading James Harden for Ben Simmons in the offseason. But, there's only so many years you can be in the mix for a championship, especially when you look at the age and the injury history of a KD, of a Kyrie. James Harden, he's getting older, but not crazy injury history. I think he had some issues with his hamstrings. Last season. Yeah. So this would have been the time to make that move. Bring in Ben Simmons, get that elite defender to pair next to a James Harden and next to a KD. And also, you take a lot of the pressure off of Ben Simmons. He's not under the bright lights of New York City technically, but he's not under the bright lights of playing at MSG, which is a lot of Knicks fans want us to try and go and bring Ben Simmons. But I'm like, man, he couldn't last in Philly. I know Philly is a crazy market, but I don't think it's any comparison to New York City. And the fans we have, how passionate we are, and how knowledgeable we are about the game. And when we see players pass up automatic points to, just because they're nervous, they don't know if they'll be able to knock their free throws down if they were to get fouled because they're not there mentally, then, that's not something that the Knicks should pursue. But in Brooklyn, he can probably flourish over there because we're not worried about Brooklyn like that on a night-to-night basis. So to me, it would have been the perfect move to make.
Absolutely. Yeah.
But now they're going to ship James Harden out of town.
Yeah. And it's frightening because they gave up the future to get all these dudes. And if they don't win a chip in the next year or so, they don't have much of a future as those guys leave or It's crazy.
Yeah, let me
They
just read
mortgage
out
the
the tweet
future.
from Shams. Champs tweeted 76ers prefer to wait to pursue James Harden or another superstar in offseason and want to save Ben Simmons for that potential deal over current market. Poor sources with knowledge and rival teams. Yeah, man. It's crazy. It's crazy. I thought the guys went over to Brooklyn to be under the radar, be low key, and they're still finding ways to make headlines. It's kind of weird to be on a team, to be in the trenches trying to win a championship, and you're already hearing news of what James Harden might do in the offseason, and he's about to skip town.
Yeah. I also, it's such a fragile thing playing in the pros. It could end in 1 second. That, especially during your youth and stuff, you don't want to give up 1 second of your youth. To see guys like Ben Simmons and others, Kyrie, like take time off, sacrilege. You don't
I mean,
know.
Kyrie was getting paid to stay home.
No, I know
I
that.
can't get too mad at him, but Ben is giving up millions. That's mind-boggling. You know how many people are hungry in this world? How many people are homeless? And this guy is saying, "Hey, I don't want the money. I'm just going to stay home." God
Yeah,
bless people in that position.
I know, but also, did you see some of the stuff of his spending habits recently?
Hey, it's his money. He can spend it however he wants to
I
spend
know
it.
that, but if you're not making money, all of a sudden you spend $1 million here and that Lambo over there and that house in 4 different cities there. All of a sudden, it's like, yeah, what happened to all my money? Especially with agents and I don't know,
getting that
maybe the
piece.
mouse ate it.
That's a fact. That's a fact. But it's a curious situation over there. We'll keep an eye on it. We'll keep you updated and let you guys know what's going on, because even though it's not related to the Knicks, it still affects us. They're in our division, they're in our conference, and we got to see them 4 times a year. So, all right, Foxy, guess what time it is?
What time is it?
It's time for the Sports Vibes TV Lounge.
Woo!
This is the part of the show, SV Nation, where you guys get to ask your questions in the chat. Foxy and I will answer them.
We love this part.
Yes, facts. We love to jump in the chat, chop it up with you guys. You guys have phenomenal questions, and you guys steer us in directions that we didn't necessarily plan pre-show. So the fact that you guys are able to give us some interesting topics to discuss, I think is always a positive and a plus to the show. Chris Dada says, since the market for point guard is real slim, what about Dennis Schroeder? Not the biggest fan of Dennis Schroeder, but I mean, with his contract, this would be a move where you're trying to get a player in to try to turn the ship around. And I don't think Schroeder, although his contract is decent and he is a talented player, I just don't think he'd be enough to really turn the ship around. So I want to bring in players that are young and that have futures on this team. I don't feel Dennis Schroeder is a player that has a long-term future with us. So that's why I would kind of not pursue him. He is a answer at point guard, yes, and he could benefit the Knicks and help out, but I just don't view him as a long-term option. So I'm tired of going after stopgaps, especially if next season we're going to have players like a Rokas or a player like a Deuce be able to step up and get a little bit more minutes. So Schroeder, he's a solid piece, and he probably help out this team to end the season, but he'll help us do what? Losing a play-in game, and at that point, what was the purpose?
I agree 100%. 100%.
Right, let's see what else we got. B. Simmons is cracking jokes. He said trade Randle for Frank Nitti. Save us some money. Save us a lot of money.
Yeah.
Let's see what else we got going on.
In the last game against Dallas, that he pulled his groin when he came in, Frank, he hit that 3 in the New York fans, but he hurt himself. So he had a groin injury, which he did 100 times when he played for us. Yeah. So that guy cannot
either playing for us or playing for France. He's injury prone. Sucks, man. Sincere, we've said, what do y'all think of a Dinwiddie and Kuzma for Fournier, Kimba, Burks, and Noel? I think the issue is with Kuzma, you're bringing in another wing, and you're still going to have Julius Randle, and you're still going to have Obi, so you won't be hard to find minutes for him at the 4. Yeah, and Cam, and then if you want to play him at the 3, you've got a little bit, you freed up a little bit of space with Fournier and Burks, but you still have Cam, you still have Grimes. So I don't know if it's interesting, but I don't like Dinwiddie. Another move where
He
it'd be
made some
like a
comments. Did you
stopgap
hear
point
that?
guard. Recently, what do you say?
Yeah, yesterday
Or
I
in the
think.
offseason?
No, yesterday after the game because they lost a game and everything, and he was just keeping it real and basically saying, "I don't give a shit if you don't like it. I'm just keeping it
Uh,
real." And
about them losing or his personality?
no, about them losing and about the situation in Washington. So it was like, whoa, is he putting himself out there like, hey, if somebody wants to trade for me, that's cool. So it's like that was
I
a
mean,
short. That honeymoon's over quick.
I'm looking at his contract right now. Let's see. He signed a what? 3-year. No, that was with the Nets. Well, the spot track would open up, but I don't know. I'm not a big fan of Dinwiddie. I feel like if we were gonna go after Dinwiddie, we should have went after him in the offseason. Kuzma's interesting, but Kuzma doesn't really move the needle for me. Honestly, if you look at the Lakers and the players they moved on from in the Anthony Davis trade, Kuzma's probably the weakest link of them. Oh, not as bad as Hart, maybe debatable.
Yeah, but when we talk Fournier and Kemba and Noel, it's about us freeing up that cap space to go over after somebody special, not,
Exactly.
not the Dinwiddie and
Not Dinwiddie
Kuzmas.
and Kuzma
Yeah,
of the world. But thank you for your question. We appreciate it. Antonio Robinson says, "Do you think we make a trade at the deadline?" We have to make a trade at the deadline.
yeah,
Fournier
but
or Burks have to go.
yeah,
Not a major move, but we have to make some sort of move in order to free up minutes for Cam. And you
I know.
hear how Thibs is talking about you have to preach patience. So I think there are moves being discussed behind the scenes. It's just going to take time for them to be, or for them to materialize and be brought public. But they have to make a move. There's no way you can move forward with this starting lineup. There's no way you can move with this logjam at the wing position.
Yeah, I'll be surprised. I'll be happily surprised, but I'd be shocked if Randle gets traded, and I'd be surprised if we got a point guard. Um, I think that sometimes the old saying, sometimes the best move is the one you don't make. So what Keith was just touching on about a week or so, they're going out to Spain to see Rokas. They talked about happy with Deuce and maybe with IQ and with D Rose coming back. Like, you know what? Let's not get crazy because let's try to, with Brock Aller, our cap and everything, let's not make a rash move. So I think the only moves maybe that we're going to make is like he said, maybe, and it may not be getting a player, maybe getting assets to get rid of somebody, free up money, but reduce the log jam. So I'm afraid that may not be what happens at the trade deadline. May not be the sexy move that all of us want.
Yeah, but they got to at least do something just to clear up minutes for our guy Cam. I think Cam could be special. Pairing him and RJ could be, the dynamic duo of our future.
Yep.
I think Brendan is also, echoing your sentiments. He says Knicks aren't gonna make any trades for mediocre players. It's superstar or nothing. That's why we are waiting for a Zion or D Mitchell. We won't go and get Simmons. Well, it could be Simons, right? Or Fox. Not what we want.
Yeah, and I wouldn't want Zion either. Zion is great for marketing, but Keys to the phenomenal
injury concerns.
Thank you.
That Jones fracture, man.
Yep, Mr. Jones fracture. So
and he's dealing with a setback too.
Yeah, getting, I don't know if it's stem cell, but he's getting certain shots in there. But just DNA wise, folks, and we're students of history. Have you ever seen, even on his best day, if he went on a diet and he's at 280? Have you ever seen a high flyer at 280? Ankles, tendons, muscles, feet, hips, they just are not made for that. And it's a violent act. So Zion's a good kid. I just don't see a long career. D Mitchell's a super guy, man, but we'd have to give up clear the cupboard for him. And I just don't think it's worth it. And also, I guess then he's the 2 and puts RJ at the 3. It impacts a lot of things if D Mitchell comes here.
Yeah. We got another question from Scott Novak. I would assume no relation to Steve. Says, what do you guys think of Mitchell Robinson? I think Mitchell Robinson, he likes to, tease you. He'll have games where he'll go out there, show you he's a dominant force with double doubles. And then there's games where he's allowing stretch fives to light him up and get open looks out there from the three and knock them down. So I still have faith in Mitch. I just need a more consistent effort because he had a nice stretch in January where he showed that he's getting better. He just hasn't developed any moves offensively. I think defensively he's gotten better with the fouling, not fouling players. He's still a beast with offensive rebounds. He's pretty much automatic when he gets the ball in the paint, and he's able to dunk or lay the ball up. It's just we would want him to expand his game a little bit more, knock down the mid-range, get better at your free throw shooting. The free throw shooting is atrocious right now. And I know he's a big, and you give, Big a little bit leeway when it comes to the free throw shooting, but you got to be much better than what we've seen from him lately.
You don't like those line drives?
Balls. It's crazy. You got to have your head on a swivel when Mitchell Robinson is at the line. Because one is a line drive, it's coming with heat, and any deflection, you're going to have to duck and get out the way.
Yeah.
Like who does that? Horford? He's always nervous whenever they're shooting free throws. Yeah. Just like that. That's how I would be if I'm at the line, if I'm standing at the line and Mitch is shooting free throws. Like
But there's hope for Mitchell because we saw a pick and pop from Noel. We saw a little short shot from Noel. So it's like if Noel can do that, maybe in the next year or so, whether Mitch will do it. But it's going to be interesting. Like I said, continually, the biggest thing for me is that if he can show us and play a significant amount of time, let's say the rest of this season, without getting injured. I got scared a couple of games ago, but thank God it was just one game with that ankle. But that could be a chronic thing that'll flare up. But let him just show that he could stay healthy for a little while. I commend him. It looks like he absolutely took off some of that big weight that he put on at the beginning of the season when you shared that picture on the flight back from Vegas. He was massive, and it looks like he took off at least, 15, 20 pounds. His bounce looks better. But I wouldn't want to give him anywhere near $20 million a year, though.
Yeah, he's not getting anywhere near that. You look
nowhere.
At the comparables, you got WCJ, Wendell Carter Jr., you're looking at Robert Williams. They're right around that $12 million range a year.
But then you also look at the JaVale McGee's and stuff like that and Dwight Howard's, and you're like saying, what does Mitch do that those guys are not doing?
Well, the thing is, those guys have already hit their ceilings and have started to regress. So they're a lot older. With Mitch, if you're going to give him the bag, you're going to give him the bag under the impression that you're going to see some growth. Like looking at Lonzo Ball, the Chicago Bulls overpaid a little bit for Lonzo, thinking that, hey, he's a young guard and his best days are still ahead of him. So that's why you might pay him a little bit more. JaVale McGee, Dwight Howard, those guys are at the end of their careers, and they're now just trying to catch on to get a ring.
Yep. But we'll be talking in 5 years about them still playing. It's just that
you never know. You never know.
Yeah, you can't teach 7 feet. Yeah, but that's the whole thing with Mitch. He's in the league for 4 years, and there's not even an element. I mentioned a couple of weeks ago I'm watching a Westchester Knicks, and the ball goes from Deuce into Sims in the post. He fakes one way and has this little jump hook, swoosh, went in, and he did it a couple of times. Like, that's beautiful. I've been watching Mitch for 4 years, and there's nothing, not even an element of that. So from a ceiling perspective, you're hoping all of a sudden he's going to wake up one morning and say, I'm going to take offense seriously. So, and it makes no sense because
he woke up one morning and took his weight seriously, right? He said he's been spending all these years not putting the work in the gym, and he finally did it this offseason. So he's still young. I still have some hope for him. Hopefully he'll get it together, man, because he can be a beast. Imagine Mitch with just a midi.
He's an elite offensive rebounder, folks, as we know. And so, yeah, there's elements of his game. So, but it's all about value. If we can get Mitch, I don't mind it. I just wish he can stay healthy and, play with us for a while.
Right.
I think you have another super chat.
Do we? Where?
Oh, maybe it's old. I'm sorry. Antonio Estrada.
That might be old.
Oh, okay.
Maybe. Mods, let me know. Did we get that one? I think we got that one.
I thought this may be his second one he sent in, or
what'd he say?
He said, do I dig that girl? He said there's a lot of decisions to be made on who's to pay.
Okay, so that's new.
New. So thank you, Antonio.
There we go. Found it.
Okay.
Found it.
Yeah.
All right, appreciate that, Antonio. He says there's a lot of decisions to make on who to pay. My bad for echoing. But yeah, we got who? RJ. We've got Mitch. Obi. We got to pay in what, another 2 years.
We still have Randle's contract.
Well, we already paid Randle.
Yeah, but it goes against the cap. So you have that number, and now RJ is absolutely going to get the bag, and rightly so. He's our future.
Mm-hmm.
And then, like you said,
Cam, now we have to make the decision, and we invested a trade asset, so we're invested.
How the hell are you supposed to assess a guy who this guy won't give any minutes to?
Exactly, and the only minutes he's giving him to is in garbage minutes where Cam doesn't look enthusiastic on the court.
Yeah.
Let's see what else we got going on. I thought I saw a few more questions. I
see Magnum
down.
Boom said, no, Juan Pecan said, how hard would Karl Anthony Towns be to get?
Who are we offering in order to get Cat? And plus, I think there was some beef between Cat and Thibs. I think Cat kind of felt like, Thibs showed some favoritism to Jimmy Butler. So I don't know if Cat would want, I don't know if Cat would want to then be traded to play for that same coach. You lose a player's, faith or trust is very hard for a coach to kind of get that back. So I don't think that's going to be a pairing. I mean, and there was some deep issues between Cat and Jimmy Butler. I mean, when Butler and Cat played against each other after those skirmishes they had in Mini, there was a lot of words thrown between the two of them. So that was like a real beef. There was a real divide on that team. And if
Butler thought he was soft,
and if Cat feels like Thibs was on Jimmy Butler's side, I really don't see them being able to kind of reconcile.
And they wouldn't. Why would they want to take Randle when they have a talent like Towns?
Exactly, and Towns is cool with D'Lo.
Yeah, but also he shoots phenomenal. Yeah, I think D'Lo is one of his good friends, actually.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah, hi, Keyshawn. Hope all is well. Andrew Coolidge. Hope all is well, my friend. Khalil Smalling said, "I don't mind paying Brunson. Y'all act like we're bringing him in while keeping all these vets." Yeah, I don't mind Brunson either. I think he is. We could have 5 phenomenal years with him.
We got one from Stanley Eskridge. So should we wait to trade Randle for the offseason for Donovan Mitchell if Utah gets eliminated in the first round? I think things have just gotten so toxic with the Julius Randle situation. It's like, do you want this to continue to fester? Because whether there are legitimate things out there on the court that he's doing that fans can gravitate to and pick apart, or things that are just, maybe things normal, everyday superstars do out there on the court, and people are just picking on that and out of context, it's just going to get out of hand. And I think in that situation, in that scenario, you just have to cut ties. Julius Randle he might still be able to get to that point where he's the player we saw last season. I just think there's been so much turmoil here this year that it'll be extremely hard for him to do it in New York. So I think they got to move on from Randle before February 10th, because it's just going to get worse. It's all down here from here, especially if we're not winning games. If we don't make any moves that'll get us on a winning track, on a winning path, it's just going to get worse.
Exactly. And coming up, and Thursday's the day, folks. February 3rd is the first day we can trade Thibs, Freudian slip for the first day we could trade Thibs. I wish we could trade Thibs too. So first day we could trade. So this Thursday we have 1 week from this Thursday to see if we can move Randle. So Hail Mary, full of grace.
We got another super chat from Antonio. He says, Anthony Edwards said Cam is the hardest person he had to guard. Facts. He's also said Cam lit him up for 40, 50 points too.
Yeah. Absolutely.
I think Cam could be special, man. Thibs is crazy. I don't understand how Thibs can see that type of player. The same profile that Thibs loves from his wings. And he can knock down the three. He can create off the dribble. And he's just going to let him waste there and rot at the end of the bench when we're playing guys like Burks and Fournier giving us a bunch of nothing.
Yeah, and Antonio, that's impressive. And Anthony Edwards is a rocket. He is so uber athletic. So for him to be out athletic, for him to be awed by their athleticism, like in Cam and their length and everything, that says a lot, because we know Anthony does not like RJ Barrett. Not
a fan.
Not a fan of RJ Edwards.
Keyshawn says, would you go for Marcus Smart or a Schroeder? Another
No,
two stopgap options. And I think we have a baby Marcus Smart and Deuce already.
I
We just have
agree.
to develop them. So if we're
I
able to
agree.
develop Deuce, I think we can get maybe even a better version of Marcus Smart because
A better
I know
offensive player.
Deuce shoots the three better, even though he hasn't shown it in the limited amount of time he's gotten out there on the court. But I mean, come on, how are you supposed to get into a rhythm and you're playing 2 minutes here and then you're not getting any minutes with the NBA team for like another week or two, and then you pop up again for another 50-second stint? How
Yeah,
are we going to have any kind of rhythm?
yeah. We'd love Smart's defense and his dog, but that's just the opposite of how we'd feel about Schroeder.
Mm-hmm.
We'd say, "Yo,
Facts.
man, that D, and he's not the biggest build. That guy's a little guy." So,
He goes pecan too at times.
yeah. Jalen Brunson is short, but he's not small. He's like that Kyle Lowry. He's thick.
Stocky.
Schroeder's small.
Facts. Let's see what else we got going on here.
Hey, Jarvis LaFleur, my friend. I hope you are feeling better. I know you had a couple of a rough time a little earlier this year, so nice to see you. Thank you for joining us, my friend.
Ala Safir Kraus says Randle's value is diluted. Snapple
No
fact.
doubt.
He may walk if things spiral. Nope, he can't walk anyway. He signed the dotted lines.
Exactly. You ain't giving up that
Stuck with us.
money. Yeah.
He's stuck with us, and we're stuck with him unless we come up with a trade. Rude Boy says Thibs said people be patient. Cam will play when they create minutes for him, either through trade or injuries. I think the major problem is who's going to want to trade for some of these guys. Look at Alec Burks and how he's been performing recently. He has not played great. You also look at Evan Fournier. He's been struggling recently, been inconsistent. Sometimes he's able to run up, threes in a quarter, and then he's gone for the rest of the game. So the thing is, we're playing these guys minutes, but we're losing. So that's one minus. And then we're playing these guys. They're not playing well, decreasing their trade value. And that's another minus. And then the third minus, 3 strikes you're out, is the fact that we're losing. These guys, these vets are not playing and contributing to winning or upping their trade value. And we have guys like a Cam, we have guys like a Deuce that are on the bench getting no minutes, no burn, and no ability to develop their game, which is something that they need. So I'm not a big fan of this period in between the Cam trade and the trade to get these vets up out of here.
I agree. Totally.
Hey,
Jean
so with
Marc,
that one,
hope all is well.
Go ahead.
No, he was just saying hi. So hi, Jean Marc. Hope all is well with you and your family.
Also, says we have 383 in chat. Thank you guys for holding us down. Let's see.
Jay from Washington Heights has a super chat for us. Thank you so much.
Check it out. Also, we have 241 likes, 378 in chat. Do us a solid. Smash that like button. Let's see if we can't get to 275 before we wrap up.
Yeah, and please hit that subscribe button. And if you have hit that subscribe button, please tell your friends. As you know, we love you, man. And we think that the way especially this part of the show, but we work with you and, the questions and everything. We love that relationship. So please subscribe and please share the link on your favorite social media platforms. Please turn on that all reminder bell so you don't miss out on any of the fabulous content from Sports Vibes TV. And as always, shout out to the best mods on the planet. We appreciate all you do.
Facts. And as you say that, I see Lexus Destroyer saying run those likes up. So appreciate you guys holding us down. We do have a super chat from our guy Jay from the Heights. He's saying, Jay from Washington Heights, he's saying, what's your take on a starting backcourt of Rokas and McBride with Rose and Quick coming off the bench? May not seem realistic with Thibs around, but I hate to see the organization wasting draft talent. Now, I would be okay with that, but I would have to see Rokas perform in the NBA before I give him the opportunity over a Quick. Same thing with McBride. Quick has shown us, whether it would be last year or halfway through this season, that he can contribute and that the team plays better with him on the court. So with that, I'm saying, all right, let's try and get Quick on the court as often as possible. And that would be by inserting him into the starting lineup. I think Rokas has been playing well overseas, but once again, he's still playing,
overseas.
overseas. So it's not the same level of competition that Quick is seeing night in and night out playing for the Knicks. So that's the only reason I wouldn't automatically say, okay, yeah, I sign on for Rokas and Deuce, especially when we're seeing Quick play, well so far this season. Even though his shot hasn't fallen, if you're looking at other areas where he's impacting the game, he's been playing, he's upped his defense, even though, I didn't know he was going to be able to play as good as solid of a defensive role on this team as he's had so far. You could argue Quick's defense has been better than RJ, and RJ came into the season saying he wanted to be one of the all
NBA
NBA
defense.
Yeah, so
he's a solid defender, but he doesn't
Not
have
there.
the lateral quickness, slow around getting around screens. He's a solid defender, but that's a huge jump to be all NBA, man. But Jay, getting to your thing, I can see him being a starting second team backcourt guy in the future. Him and or McBride, and hopefully they'll improve their skills, and in the future maybe they could be. But Quick is the one. Every season he's gotten better, so I'm looking forward next season he should be at another level altogether, and especially on the playmaking side.
Yep. Yeah, I think Rokas will join the team at some point and be a contributor. Honestly, I'm interested in seeing why the team, or when the team goes over to see him in Europe, because it's before that February 10th deadline. It might mean we have a trade in the works and they're just going over there to scout Rokas before they decide to pull a trigger. So keep an eye out on that.
And it's funny you said that, because when I thought about different things, I said, you know what? I could see Dallas, because of their history with Luka and Dirk and everything. They like European players. So if Brunson was in the works, maybe Rokas is a player that Dallas would be, think of in a positive light because of their history with European players.
Thanks. Let's see what we got. Antonio Estrada Del Fosi says, I think Kimba will get bought out. He, at this point, I don't
2 times in 1 year, unbelievable. Is that a new record? A new record. First bought out by OKC. Next, do we hear a third team that'll buy him out?
All right, crazy. We got another super chat. Let's see.
SB Gorilla.
This one is from. Salute to SB Gorilla. Has a super chat that says, I would like to see more of IQ, RJ, Grimes, Obi, and Mitch. What y'all think? Hey, music to my ears. I'd love to see that lineup as well.
Yeah, and Keith and I were talking about Gorilla of My Dreams. We're talking about yesterday that I'd love to see a Grimes, RJ, Cam, Obi, and Mitch lineup, especially with that duo of Grimes, RJ, Cam, and Mitch. That'd be a serious defensive team. And Obi's getting better, but those guys are serious defenders.
Thanks. We got a message from
Shifty Lee
Meha. Yo, peace new to the chat. I like your material. Keep up the good work. Thank you. Appreciate you joining in. Make sure you're here next Sunday at 8 p.m. so you can participate in the chat as well as we have another show.
Yeah, welcome to the SV Nation. Hey, my friend Jay Boogie, our friend Jay Boogie, just don't buy him out. Keep his money and just kick him out. Jay Boogie. So
salute to our guy Jay Boogie.
Yeah,
holding it down from the Carolinas.
Yeah, and again, hi to Hardwell. And again, thank you for Carolinas, folks. If you're moving in the Carolina area up north, or you're moving from the New York area down to the Carolina area, hook up with Jay Boogie. Give him a call or send him a note at bettercaremoversnc@gmail.com. bettercaremoversnc@gmail.com. Tell him that you watch Sports Vibe TV. You're part of the SV Nation, and Jay Boogie will hook you up.
Charlie Dorr says, what's a realistic trade package you can think of to free up room for Cam to play? So now you have a major move that would probably include, Julius Randle for Fox. That's probably one that's probably being spoken about behind the scenes right now for all we know. We discussed the smaller move for Jalen Brunson. You're looking at Alec Burks, maybe a pick if the salaries match in order to get him in here.
But
you just
Dallas,
mentioned
I
one,
think,
including Rokas in a deal for Dallas with Dallas,
but also because of Hardaway messing his wrist up. That if they're serious about a run, Maybe they need a shooter.
They need somebody like
They
Burks.
need
And somebody
somebody.
that can play some decent defense.
Yeah.
Hardaway, when
So
he's engaged, is a solid defender.
that'd be
Decent enough.
weird. Another part, Burks and Bullock in the same lineup again.
Right?
Well, they're New York Knicks West anyway.
Exactly. They're the Mavericks.
The Mavericks. Yo,
Here we go.
Steph-a-Don. Hope all is well, King.
Salute. We got 32. Oh, there's 32 more likes before we get to 300. We're about to sign off soon. So if you're in the chat and you haven't smashed the like button yet, it says there's 383 of y'all. All we need is, like Lex said, there's 32 more of you guys to get us up over 300. And I think that would be phenomenal end to the show. So I appreciate if SB Nation can do that. If not, we'll get them next time. It's all good. Don't stress.
Yeah. Hey, our friend Fritz Alcindor, hope all is well with you and your family.
Hey,
Says
salute to Fritz and Knicks of time.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Legend in the Knicks fandom. He said Dallas has an exception to absorb Burks. So thanks for that data point. So maybe the planets are aligning that that'd be a potential destination for him, for us to free up. Give our kids some too.
Dan Marrero said, I said it a couple times. Wall, Wood, Gordon, and 2 firsts for Kimba, Evan, and Randle with the second.
Yeah.
I don't want Wall at all.
Yeah, and that contract.
Yeah. Wood is a piece I'd live with, but there's some issues with him.
Character
issues, yeah. Gordon, I think he kind of...
We have Grimes. We don't want to take away minutes from our kid.
Facts. And if we're swapping him for Evan, it's just a even exchange at that point when it comes to minutes in the logjam.
Plus 2 first-round picks.
Here we go with my retail experience, even exchange.
There's a coupon on the back of your receipt, and we could get a second-round draft choice with it.
Yeah, man. I spent years working at JCPenney over in Bay Plaza.
Yeah.
Oh, man. And Randle with a second. Let's see what else we got going on here.
Hey, J Money, I'm almost home. Hope all is well, Justin, Kentucky's finest.
Facts. So we got the 284. Didn't exactly get to the 300, but it's a nice enough figure. We'll wrap it up here, Foxy. I think we had a phenomenal stream. SV Nation, you guys were great with your questions.
Love you.
With leading us. We always say you're the third co-host of the show, and I think you guys did a great job holding us down and supporting, especially when we've got some playoff football going on. So the fact that you guys are here chopping it up with us, greatly appreciate it.
Yeah, and also please leave your comments. As we said, if you couldn't make it, hey, Hardwell, thanks again. If you can make and you watch the replay, we answer all those comments. So thank you. Have those comments coming. You know that we'll answer you, and we go into detail. It's not a perfunctory, hello, thank you, goodbye. We actually answer them with detailed answers.
Thanks. So anybody you want to shout out one more time before we wrap it up for today?
I don't know if my friend D is ballin' or D Poetic, or as I call him, Professor D in the think tank, if he's around. But if you're listening, hope all is well, D. Again, Steph-a-Don. I said Hardwell, my guy Hector. Dripmore, never want to forget my guy Dripmore. I hope all is well with you and the family. IQJ, I mentioned again Jarvis LaFleur, hope all is well. Tony Curry, the ball don't lie. Jay Boogie, the one, the only, the man, the myth, the legend, Jay Boogie. Hey Boogie, I noticed I was out doing shovel and I noticed you gave me a call. I'll give you a call back, but I saw that you gave me a call today. So again, Jean-Marc, Charlie Doge, Nick Yak, Magnum Boom. So yeah, we're just so blessed. Thank you so much for all your support, your feedback, and most of all your friendship.
Thanks. Also, if you want to follow either Foxy or me on Twitter, you can go to @SportsVibesTV, and you can go @Fox Sports Talk on Twitter. FOXSPORTSTALK. And also, if you want to look for Sports Vibes, it's right up there.
Yeah. And what about the sportsvibe.com?
Yes, you can also purchase some channel merch if you want to support the channel in other ways. You can go to sportsvibestv.com. We've got a couple joggers, and I think we also have a rain poncho for those of you guys that want to, rock the channel merch and support the channel. The funds are going to go into helping upgrade the situation we got going on here so we can do more bigger and more dynamic things here on the channel. So anything you guys contribute is greatly appreciated, whether that be super chats at sportsvibestv.com, and most importantly, your time tuning in. I know everybody's time is important to them, and it means a lot to both Foxy and I when you guys decide to spend your time with us. So I greatly appreciate it. Want to let you guys know that.
Yeah. And
all right. So with that, go ahead.
And on the merchandising side, one of these days we may even see a Yo T-shirt come out.
Hey, I'm all with it, Foxy. I'm all with it. So with that being said, thank you guys for tuning in. Once again, you are the co-host, or the third co-host here on Sports Vibes TV when it comes to our Knicks Sunday stream. I'm Keith, host of Sports Vibes TV. That's our guy, Stephen Fox, our NBA analyst here on the channel, and our second co-host on the Knicks Sunday stream. We're out.